Times Square, July 16, 1912. Before the sun rose, a man lay dead on the sidewalk outside the Hotel Metropole. His face was destroyed, his chest riddled with bullets. His name was Herman Rosenthal. Witnesses watched in stunned silence. The body was still warm when whispers tore through the city like a knife. The police didn't just cover up crime anymore. They killed to protect it. In 1912, New York wasn't just a city that never slept. It was a city where crime never stopped. Gambling parlors thrived on every block. Brothels are behind fake storefronts. Illegal saloons poured whiskey long after midnight. But none of it could exist without one thing: police protection. The NYPD had become a second government. Their badges opened doors and shut mouths. Money flowed from gamblers and gangsters into the pockets of captains and commissioners. If you paid enough, you could break any law. If you didn't, you ended up ruined or dead. And no one knew that better than Herman Rosenthal. Herman Rosenthal wasn't a big boss. He ran a few gambling dens, took bets, paid bribes, made a living. He wasn't innocent, but he played by the city's dirty rules. Until he crossed the wrong man. Lieutenant Charles Becker. Becker was ambitious. He wanted not just money, but control. He didn't want a piece of Rosenthal's action. He wanted the whole operation under his thumb. And when Rosenthal refused to hand it over, Becker turned the full weight of the NYPD against him. Raids, arrests, threats. Rosenthal's empire crumbled almost overnight. Facing ruin, Rosenthal made a desperate, irreversible choice. He decided to talk. On July 15, 1912, Rosenthal walked into the offices of the New York World newspaper. He wasn't there to ask for help. He wasn't looking for mercy. He wanted revenge. Rosenthal gave a sworn statement naming names. He described payoffs, extortion, illegal protection deals, and a dirty cop at the center of it all: Charles Becker. The newspaper printed the story in the next morning's edition. It hit the city like an earthquake. The NYPD leadership panicked. Politicians scrambled to distance themselves. Charles Becker, once considered untouchable, realized he had no friends left. Rosenthal had signed his death warrant, and he didn't even know it. It was still dark when Rosenthal arrived at the Hotel Metropole early on July 16th. He thought he was meeting someone who could help him. Maybe another gambler. Maybe a crooked cop. Maybe an ally. Instead, a dark car pulled up the curb. 4 men jumped out. The first shot caught Rosenthal in the chest. The next shattered his face. 2 more tore into his gut. Rosenthal collapsed on the pavement as the assassin sped off into the night. He died choking on his own blood less than 24 hours after exposing the NYPD's secrets to the world. The city awoke to front-page photos of his broken body. No one could pretend anymore. The NYPD was rotten to the core, and now it was killing its own citizens to stay in power. District Attorney Charles Whitman moved fast. He couldn't trust the police to investigate their own. He pulled in outside detectives, hired private agents, and set up secret informant meetings. Witnesses came forward: terrified cab drivers, bartenders, street hustlers, hotel clerks. One by one, the pieces fell into place. The gunmen were all tied to the underworld and to Charles Becker's gambling operations. The hit had been ordered, they said, by Becker himself. The plan had been whispered in smoke-filled rooms, approved with a nod. Rosenthal's murder wasn't random. It was organized, sanctioned, and executed with military precision. The police hadn't just failed to stop it. They had made it happen. Charles Becker was arrested on July 29, 1912. The trial was chaos. Spectators packed the courtroom. Newspapers battled for scoops. The defense screamed about political conspiracies. The prosecution painted Becker as the very face of police corruption. Becker sat stone-faced as former friends, paid killers, and crooked cops testified against him. The key witnesses? The gunmen themselves. Facing life sentences, they pointed their fingers at Becker. They said he'd ordered the murder personally out of fear, greed, and rage. Becker's lawyers fought hard. They claimed the witnesses were liars, gamblers, men who would say anything to save themselves. But the jury wasn't buying it. On October 24th, 1912, after just 4 hours of deliberation, Becker was found guilty of first-degree murder, sentenced to death. Becker wasn't finished. He appealed the verdict, claimed he had been railroaded, accused the district attorney of faking evidence, and for a moment, it seemed he might escape. A higher court threw out the first conviction on a technicality, but a second trial came quickly. This time, the prosecutors came harder. The evidence was even stronger. No one wanted Becker to walk free. Not the public, not the newspapers, not the politicians who had once backed him. On May 22, 1915, Charles Becker was convicted again. No more appeals, no more chances. The execution date was set, July 30th, 1915, Sing Sing prison. Charles Becker was led from his cell just before dawn. He wore a gray prison uniform. No priest walked beside him. No tears stained his cheeks. He stepped into the death chamber under his own power. Witnesses described the scene as silent, cold, final. At exactly 5:55 a.m., the switch was pulled. Becker's body jolted once, then lay still. It was over. The man who thought he was too powerful to fall had died under the hum of the electric chair. The Rosenthal case blew open the doors to the NYPD's darkest secrets. In the years that followed, dozens of officers were fired or forced to resign. Entire precincts were cleaned out. New rules banned gambling protection money. Civilian oversight boards were created to watch the police. But the wounds never fully healed. Even today, more than a century later, the story of Charles Becker is a reminder. When corruption hides behind a badge, it's not just criminals we have to fear. It's the very people we trust to protect us. Herman Rosenthal's blood stained not just the sidewalk, but the soul of New York City itself. Two men, one small-time gambler, one powerful cop, both destroyed by greed, both swallowed by the machine they tried to control. One died in a hail of bullets. One died in the chair. And the city was never the same. This is State of Crime. And this was the murder that shattered the NYPD.